he does, he'll hold a hearing at which Ali can present his case. And to help him prepare for the hearing, the Nation of Islam pairs Ali with a lawyer named Hayden Covington. Initially, Ali is put off by the recommendation. Covington is a wealthy white Southerner, seemingly the kind of person the Nation warns its members against. But the Nation encourages Ali to meet with him anyway. They say that Covington has an impressive track record of getting Jehovah's Witnesses out of military service. And since World War II, Covington has argued 44 such cases before the Supreme Court, 137 of them. So in the early summer of 1966, Ali arrives at Covington's office in downtown Houston for their first official consultation. As Ali enters, Covington jumps up from behind his large, polished wood desk to greet him. Covington is in his mid-50s with wire-rimmed glasses and swept-back graying hair. He shakes Ali's hand warmly, calling him champ. It makes Ali relax a bit. But as they sit, Covington pours himself a scotch, and Ali's guard goes back up. Covington takes a sip of his drink, sets the glass down, takes a moment to savor it, and then looks up at Ali.
I've been thinking about your case, and I think we need to try a different strategy with the draft board. I'm not sure that claiming you're a conscientious objector is the best option.
Why not?
Because conscientious objectors still have to serve in the military sometimes. Not on the front lines, but as file clerks or cooks. It's not a blanket exemption from military service.
I didn't know that.
Most people don't. But there's a better option for you. The 4D exemption for preachers and ministers.
Ministers?
That's right. According to the law, ministers are exempt from all military service, even non-combatant roles.
But I'm not a minister. I think I can make the case that you are. I pioneered a legal strategy for the Jehovah's Witnesses. As part of their faith, all witnesses have to knock on doors and spread the word about their religion. That's ministerial work. Hence, they're all ministers. On that basis, the Supreme Court has granted them exemption. I don't knock on people's doors either.
But you do preach. You're constantly talking about your faith on television. You also speak at Nation of Islam mosques around the country, right? That draws people in.
That's true. I do preach at mosques. But are you sure the judge will buy this?
Well, I can't be 100% certain, but I am confident. The Supreme Court rulings are clear, and far more potential draftees get out of military service as ministers than as conscientious objectors.
Well, I suppose it's worth a shot.
Don't worry, champ. We're gonna win this.
As Ali stands to shake Covington's hand, he's impressed with the lawyer's strategy and confidence. On one hand, it sounds like a gamble. He's never considered himself a minister, but it is true that he actually does spend more visiting faith than he boxes. It seems like they could make a compelling case, especially if it's one that Covington has made successfully before. After their first meeting, Hayden Covington begins securing statements about Muhammad Ali's work as a minister. Elijah Muhammad himself writes a letter. Covington also convinces Ali trainer Angelo Dundee to declare that Ali's primary occupation is preaching and that he boxes only to make money to support that calling. And just to cover his bases, Covington also plans to argue that Ali is also a conscientious objector. The hearing is scheduled for August 23, 1966 to argue his case, but his mouth has gotten him in trouble in the past, and if things don't go well, it could upend his entire future. So on the day of the hearing, Ali waits in the stuffy hallway, but when the judge summons him inside, he straightens his back, lifts his chin, and walks in as confidently as he can. In his hands, he carries two books, the Quran and Elijah Muhammad's Message to the Black Men in America. Bringing these books was his lawyer Covington's idea, to show Ali's sincerity to the judge, a white man in his late 60s named Lawrence Grauman, sitting at a bench in the front of the room. Ali sets the books down on the appellant's table, within eyeshot of Grauman. But rather than look impressed, the judge's face freezes into a scowl. Ali feels a twinge of worry. Maybe this stunt is going to backfire. Grauman calls a hearing to order. He advises Ali that this is not a trial, merely an opportunity to gather facts. Then he asks Covington to begin presenting the case. Over the next 2 hours, Covington calls 4 witnesses. These include Ali's parents, Sam Sack,
in 1,000 feet, turn left.
first converted Ali to the Nation of Islam, and Clarence Eskridge, a tax attorney and one of Ali's confidants who has done work for Elijah Muhammad and Martin Luther King Jr. Eskridge testifies that Ali is so committed to his faith that he's turned down lucrative product endorsements and film appearances that would have conflicted with his beliefs. Prompted by Covington, he also talks about Ali's work as a Nation of Islam minister. And at this, Judge Grauman looks surprised, asking Eskridge. He even asks Eskridge to spell the word minister to make absolutely sure he's hearing it right. As the judge grills Eskridge, Ali slouches in his seat. It seems like their strategy of going for the minister exemption is off to a bad start. So Ali grows even more nervous when, after all the character witnesses, it's his turn to speak. He takes a deep breath to try to relax and rises and walks to the witness stand. The judge's expression remains unreadable as Ali explains how he first heard about the Nation of Islam and what attracted him to the religion. He says he spends around 6 hours a day preaching in some capacity, calling people or talking at schools and mosques. Ali concedes that he needs to put his ministerial work aside sometimes to earn a living, but he says the publicity from boxing serves the greater good of Allah and the Nation of Islam. Hearing this, Grauman makes a note on a legal pad. Then he asks Ali how he can declare himself a pacifist given that he knocks out people for a living. Ali leans forward, points out that boxing and war are different things. Boxers wear gloves to inflict less damage. Meanwhile, soldiers aim to kill. Boxers may bloody each other sometimes, but what they're doing is sport, not murder. Grauman nods thoughtfully and writes another note on his pad. Ali senses he might be making progress. But then Grauman says he wants to ask about Ali's previous contact with the draft board, pointing out that Ali took the Army aptitude test twice, but in neither case did he declare himself a conscientious objector. So suddenly claiming that status now, when he's eligible to be drafted, looks suspicious. Ali fidgets in his chair and admits the answer is embarrassing. He took the aptitude test a few weeks before his first Sonny Liston fight. His promoters had hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake, and so if he mentioned his new religion, word would have leaked out. He knows how controversial the Nation of Islam is, and a storm of bad publicity would have followed. Sponsors might have pulled out, and everyone would have lost money. So however cowardly it seems now, he decided then to keep quiet. But then he holds up his hand and swears to Grauman, with Allah as his witness, that if he had not failed those tests, he would have declared his opposition to war. As Ali finishes, Grauman looks the young boxer up and down, but his face remains blank. And then, after 3.5 hours, he ends the hearing. He wishes Ali luck, and then gathers his notes and leaves. Ali has been imagining that the end of the hearing would be a relief, but it's not. He knows he scored some good points, but Grauman still seemed dubious. Now there's nothing more Ali can do to prove his case. His fate now rests in the judge's hands. From Wondery, this is episode 1 of Muhammad Ali vs. Hi, this is Lindsey Graham, host of American Scandal. Our back catalog has moved behind a paywall. Recent episodes remain free, but older ones will require a Wondery Plus subscription. With Wondery Plus, you get access to the full American Scandal archive, ad-free, plus early access to new seasons and more. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
Turn left, then continue straight. Continue straight, then turn right onto the slip road.
It's early November.
Turn right onto the slip road.
Oh, shut up.
1966 in Washington, D.C. Attorney Oscar Smith sits in his office in the Department of Justice, reading interview transcripts to prepare for an upcoming case. Smith is in charge of reviewing applications for draft deferment. It's his job to determine whether applicants claiming to be conscientious objectors are sincere in their beliefs or if they're just lying to get out of military service. Today, he's assessing the most controversial case that's ever crossed his desk, one involving heavyweight boxing champion Cassius Clay, or as he's now known, Muhammad Ali. Ali is claiming that he's a minister of the Nation of Islam, a religion that does not believe in war. Therefore, he must be excused from military service under the 4D exemption for all religious ministers. Ali's claim has already been rejected once by the draft board in his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. But Ali's lawyer appealed the case to a state draft board, which triggered a weeks-long investigation by the FBI and a formal hearing. Ali and his lawyers, along with several witnesses, went before a judge to testify about his beliefs, and in the end, the judge ruled he was in fact sincere and should not draft. The task of making a final determination comes down to Smith, and today's the day he has to decide. Smith hears a knock at his office door, sees a colleague poke his head in.
Hi, Oscar. Just wanted to see how you're doing with this Clay case. Are you ready to make a recommendation? Not really, but come in and sit down. Help me talk through this thing one last time. I'm surprised you're still on the fence. I was just reading the report from the judge, and he doesn't leave much room for doubt. As far as he's concerned, Clay, or Ali, I guess, is sincere. I know, but there's just something about this case that feels fishy to me. Ali never mentioned that he was a conscientious objector until after he faced the threat of being drafted. Now, all of a sudden, he's a minister? Seems odd. But he addressed that. He said the Nation of Islam is controversial and it would have cost him and his promoters a lot of money before the Sonny Liston fight. So money trumps his religious beliefs. I understand your hesitation, but the Nation of Islam does oppose war. Elijah Muhammad spent 4 years in prison during World War II for resisting the draft. That seems pretty sincere to me. But look at what Elijah Muhammad actually says. The Nation of Islam members cannot serve in the military of the United States, but he says they could serve in a whole. That means they're not true conscientious objectors. You can't just oppose particular wars. You have to be against all war. Okay, but every witness for Ali said that he does oppose war. 3 dozen people. Sure, his friends and family members, they're biased in his favor, but they're not all on good terms with him. Ali's parents said they hate the Nation of Islam, and since he changed his name, they've barely spoken to him. But that doesn't mean they want him to go to war. Plus, I keep coming back to the fact that Ali has told reporters over and over again that he considers Vietnam a white man's war. It seems to me his objection is political, not religious. And the law is you cannot dodge the draft for political reasons. And that's a fair point, but do you really want to contradict the judge's recommendation? It's non-binding, so I don't see why not. We've overruled judges in cases like this before. We've never had a case like this. Oscar, we're talking about one of the most famous athletes in the world here. If we go against the judge's recommendation and deny his deferment, people are going to get angry.
Smith shrugs.
We're not here to please people. We're here to uphold the law. Well, sounds like you made your decision. Yes, I think I have.
Smith's colleague gets up and leaves his office, still looking unconvinced. But Smith feels certain he's doing the right thing. Ali is an opportunist, looking for a way out of serving his country. He shouldn't receive special treatment just because he's a famous boxer. So Smith is going to recommend that the Louisville Draft Board deny Ali's request. Muhammad Ali is going to be eligible for the draft just like everyone else. American Scandal is sponsored by Audible, who wants you to expand your life by listening. Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that will inspire and motivate you. Just open the app to find advice and insight from leading influencers, experts, and professionals, like the still resonant and relevant How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. But whatever your interest, there's a listen for it on Audible. You'll find titles on fitness, nutrition, relaxation, relationships, career, finances, making good decisions, and building good habits. There's so much opportunity to imagine when you listen. Let Audible help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/AS.
The Spark Capital, you earn unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase. Plus, no spending limit helps your purchasing power. Founder of
In the early 1960s, boxer Muhammad Ali rocketed to stardom by becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. But he courted controversy along the way, both with his flamboyant persona and his decision to join the Nation of Islam. Ali was first drawn to the nation's message of self-determination for black people, but he quickly embraced all of the nation's teachings and its rules. Ali began praying 5 times a day, abstaining from alcohol and pork, and declaring his opposition to war. In early 1966, Ali applied for a draft deferral as a conscientious objector and minister, but the government rejected his application. And when Ali in turn refused to be drafted, the justice system decided to pursue a criminal case against Ali to the full extent of the law. This is episode 2, What's My Name? It's December 28, 1966 in New York City. Sports reporter Howard Cosell is standing in the press room at Madison Square Garden, holding a microphone, looking down the lens of a TV camera. He smiles, glancing up at the 2 giant men on either side of him, Muhammad Ali and another African-American boxer, Ernie Terrell. Both men well over title match, and Cosell has brought them together for an interview ahead of the bout. To help sell the conflict between the 2 fighters, Cosell starts the interview with a jab at Ali. As the camera starts rolling, Cosell announces that Terrell has just told him that he's the only man in the world that Muhammad Ali is afraid of. Knowing his response, Cosell asks him to read a poem he's prepared just for the occasion. Ali recites the poem in his Kentucky drawl, carefully enunciating rhyming couplets like, "At the sound of the bell, hell will catch hell." He gets a few laughs from others in the room, but Terrell remains stone-faced. And then he takes a dig of his own, saying he'd like to say something about his opponent, Cassius Clay. Cosell glances over at Ali and can see anger cloud his face. Ali quickly interrupts Terrell and demands to know why he's refusing to use his real name. Terrell responds by reminding the champ that they've known each other for years and he doesn't remember him going by Muhammad Ali in the past. Ali is incensed. He insists that Terrell call him by his Muslim name, but Terrell refuses. As the argument escalates, Cosell tilts his microphone back and forth, trying to catch every word, knowing this is great television. The 2 boxers are squaring off as if they're already in the ring. But then when Ali calls Terrell an Uncle Tom, Cosell can sense the energy in the room change. Ali might have crossed a line with this insult. Cosell tries to wrap things up as Terrell steps in closer, looking as if he's about to hit Ali. But then Ali reaches past Cosell and shoves Terrell. Cosell barely escapes from between the 2 boxers as the room erupts in chaos. Ali and Terrell's entourages dart forward to grab the men who keep taunting each other. Cosell gestures at the camera crew to keep rolling, but at the same time he's unnerved. Tension in the boxing world over Ali and his antics is already high, and this little scuffle, ignited by his Muslim name, will only ratchet things up even more. Ali's bout with Ernie Terrell occurs 2 months later in February 1967. Terrell lasts about 15 rounds, but he's clearly outmatched. By the 8th round, Ali is toying with him, taunting him with shouts of, "What's my name?" In the end, Terrell loses the match in a unanimous decision. Commentators say that Ali looks unstoppable in the ring. Even those who might despise his politics or behavior are forced to admit that he's the best boxer alive. And Ali is inclined to agree. He is faster, stronger, and more agile than ever. He's all continuing to stick to Nation of Islam tenets and has hired an all-black team of managers headed by Herbert Muhammad, the son of Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad. In many ways, Ali feels like he's reaching the peak of his abilities, which makes him all the more anxious that he might be drafted into the U.S. military. The war in Vietnam is ramping up, and the Army is recruiting heavily. So in early 1967, when the Louisville Draft Board decides to take the Department of Justice's recommendation and deny Ali's request for a deferral, the boxer is shaken deeply. Ali is now officially eligible for the draft, and his lawyer, Hayden Covington, immediately fights back. Covington files a lawsuit in federal court to declare Kentucky's draft boards unconstitutional because there's only one black draft board member in the entire state. He argues that just like juries, draft boards need to be reflective of their communities, which means they must be more racially diverse. But federal cases can take years to resolve, and Ali doesn't have that kind of time. Every morning, he wakes up wondering whether he'll be called to serve, and on March 15th, 1967, he is. That evening, Ali is inside a suite at Madison Square Garden eating dinner after an intense training session for his next big fight, when he hears a knock at the door. Ali looks up from his meal to see the Garden's publicity manager, John Condon, enter the room. Condon approaches Ali and shakes his hand, but has a solemn look on his face. Then he places a hand on Ali's shoulder and says he has some bad news. He just got a phone call from Louisville. The draft board has released the next round of draftees, and Ali's name is on the list. He's going to be inducted in a month on April 11th. Ali's heart sinks. He always knew there was a chance of being drafted, but he hoped somehow he'd be spared. So Ali stands and starts pacing the room, his mind going through all the possible scenarios if he refuses to join. Finally, he looks at Condon and says that whatever happens, this next bout will probably be his last. If that's true, he needs to make the most of it. A week later, Ali easily dispatches his opponent in a 7-round knockout. But news of the fight is overshadowed with speculation about Ali's impending induction into the army. Ali has been saying for years that he'll never join the military, but most observers don't believe it. There's no way he'd throw away his boxing career by defying the government. So Ali's best hope is his legal case, and his lawyers are already hard at work. Covington knows the suit claiming that draft boards are racially biased could take years to resolve, so he tries another gambit. Since Ali has been living in Houston, Texas, nearly full-time for a few years now, Covington files a motion to transfer Ali's induction from Louisville to Houston, hoping that military red tape will delay the process. But the ploy doesn't do much. The military only expedites Ali's case and grant the transfer. Soon the boxer receives a letter instructing him to report for induction in Houston on April 28, 1967, only 17 days after his initial induction date. And when the time comes, Ali wakes up that day feeling resolved. He's already decided that he's not going to serve. Still, the thought of having to subject himself to induction makes him nervous. He's not the only one who feels that way. For U.S. Army Lieutenant Stephen Dunkley, he faces the day with dread too. Dunkley is one of the officers charged with overseeing Ali's induction. While he doesn't want to force the boxer to join the military against his will, the thought of sending him to prison for refusing feels even worse. So as the hour of Ali's arrival approaches, Dunkley hopes that the boxer will just change his mind. He watches from a third-floor window as Ali's cab pulls up outside the U.S. Custom House in downtown Houston, which houses the Armed Forces Induction Center. The car is immediately surrounded by a mob of reporters, protesters, and counter-protesters. But Ali looks perfectly calm as he steps out of the cab and heads for the door, ignoring the reporters shouting questions at him. Anxiously, Dunkley heads to the lobby and counts the draftees gathered there. All 36 have shown up, so he begins to lead them back to an exam room to start the induction. Over the next 4 hours, Dunkley and other officers lead the men through a series of medical evaluations. They fill out paperwork and get their blood drawn. Then after lunch, it's time for the moment Dunkley has been dreading. Dunkley leads 8 men, including Muhammad Ali, into a small room and instructs them to stand in a straight line. And he grabs a clipboard with a sheet of paper and clears his throat.
Gentlemen, as your name is called, please take one step forward. Taking this step constitutes your agreement to be inducted into the service announced following your name. Jason Adams, Army. John McCullum, Army. Wayne Neal, Army. Cassius Clay, Army.
Ali doesn't move. Dunkley knows Ali hates people calling him by his former name, so he tries again.
Cassius Clay, a.k.a. Muhammad Ali. Please step forward for induction into the Armed Forces of the United States.
But Ali remains still. Dunkley steps forward.
Mr. Ali, I hope you understand the gravity of the situation. I do, sir. It's my duty to inform you that if you refuse induction, you face a penalty of up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. I understand, and I face a court-martial if I don't do my job. That's okay. It's the system that's the problem, not you. I'm going to give you one more chance. Muhammad Ali, please step forward.
Again, Ali refuses to budge.
Mr. Ali, you will need to put your refusal to serve in writing. After that, you are free to leave. But the matter will then move to the courts. I understand.
Dunkley curses to himself. He has no choice but to do his duty. So he turns to the other 7 men and tells them to head out to the door to his right, where they will board a bus for basic training. After they leave, Dunkley drops his eyes and heads to another door. In the hallway there, he nods at a government lawyer. The man nods back and enters to talk to Ali. Dunkley remains in the hallway, rubbing his temples. Thanks to him, it's now official. Muhammad Ali will be criminally charged with dodging the draft. American Scandal is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs who want to stand out and succeed online. But do you need a website? Of course you do. I mean, if you own a business, have a hobby, write a blog, run an organization, create online, create IRL, but show off your creations online, you need a website. In this day and age, you're... So to help get you a website, and a good one, Squarespace's new Design Intelligence combines 2 decades of industry-leading design expertise with cutting-edge AI technology to unlock your strongest creative potential. Design Intelligence empowers you to build your own unique digital identity across your entire online presence. So no matter what you do on the web, write, create, sell, consult, coach, teach, you can do it better, faster, and look more professional with Squarespace. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/scandal to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/scandal to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Rakuten is the smartest way to save money when you shop, because you earn cash back at over 3,500 stores. Fashion, beauty, electronics, home essentials, travel, dining, concert tickets, and more. Your favorite stores like Lowe's, Levi's, and Nike pay Rakuten to send them shoppers, and Rakuten then passes on a part of that payment to its members as cash back. You're already shopping at your favorite stores. Why not save while you're doing it? It's a no-brainer. Membership is free and easy to sign up. Get the Rakuten app now and join the 17 million members who are already saving. Cashback rates change daily. See Rakuten.com for details. That's Rakuten. Your cashback really adds up.
Just minutes after refusing to be drafted, Muhammad Ali and his lawyers walk into a press room in the U.S. Customs House in downtown Houston. The room swarming with reporters, all eager to ask Ali about his decision. But to the reporters' disappointment, the highly quotable Ali declines to answer any questions. Instead, he hands out a pre-written statement. It reads in part, "Many newspapers have given the American public the impression that I have only 2 alternatives in taking this stand. Either I go to jail or go to the army. There is another alternative, and justice." Within hours of the press conference, the powerful New York Athletic Commission revokes Ali's boxing license and strips him of his heavyweight title. Several other states follow, effectively banning Ali from boxing in the country. 10 days later, Ali is indicted by a federal grand jury. He's formally arrested and fingerprinted. His mugshot is taken, and then he's released on bail, sent home to await trial. Ali feels certain he's doing the right thing, even as many people in his inner circle try to convince him to back down and just join the military. They're worried he's not thinking clearly, or that he may not fully understand what going to jail could do to his career and public image. But Ali has his share of supporters too, and none of them are more loyal to him than his friend and business associate, former NFL football star Jim Brown. Since first meeting in 1964, Brown and Ali have bonded over their shared status as elite athletes and their interest in black activism. Brown has also become a partner in Ali's career through his company Main Bout, which handles the television rights for Ali's fights. And at first, when Ali was drafted, Brown felt like he was in a no-win situation. Either Ali would have to stop boxing while he performed his military service, or he would be banned from boxing for refusing to serve. For the outcome, Ali would be unable to box, and Brown's company would lose millions in TV rights. But then there was word of another possible solution from an unlikely source. A phone call from Herbert Muhammad, who was also a partner in manager, the son of his spiritual mentor, Elijah Muhammad. Gotten word from a U.S. district if Ali is to serve, he allowed to continue boxing. He wants him to deal. This all comes back to Brown. Discuss it with Ali.